My name is Pamela Nelson, and I am a professor here at Okanagan College in the business department. I teach mainly in the marketing and management divisions or courses. I also teach computer applications. I have a technical background, a technology background. So I'm kind of across the board. So it all comes together, of course, in marketing. Love marketing. And so tonight, or I guess I can tell you more about my background if you want, but I consider being at the college kind of the culmination of my career. I've been in business for close to 30 years. I worked as the technical support manager and in charge of training for a North American-wide online company. I've also worked with many startups. I worked for public companies, private companies. I have almost a decade in the legal services sector, and I've worked with a number of startups for about 8 years, also in consulting and as a loans advisor and business advisor at Women's Enterprise Center. So my heart is in working with small business, and I love everything to do with marketing. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So the session I wanted to offer tonight is what's the deal with digital data? I'm going to share my screen here. You should be able to see that okay. All right. So first off, what is data? Now I'm hoping, even though all of you have are muted and I don't see your video, but the fun part for me is if this is interactive. So I'm not just the talking head up here in the corner. So if you have any questions, that would be great. If you just unmute yourself. But also, I'm going to be asking you some questions. So if you've got some answers, that would be awesome to hear from you. So first off, what is data? When you hear the word data, what do you think of? You can use the chat as well if that's more comfortable for you. What do you think of when you hear the word data? Now, I'm assuming you may have talked about in school, you may have talked about your digital footprint at some point. Have you talked about digital footprint at school? Thumbs up. Okay, good. Any information? Yes, good. I'm assuming that you've spent some time talking about your digital footprint and how to control that. We'll talk about that a little bit tonight. It really is data. We like to think about as data as the precursor to information. So it is, thank you, Gilbert, good, raw information unprocessed, exactly, because we can take data, and that's the collection of all those data points and information, and then we can turn it into information through analysis. So big data is something we talked a little bit about. We're going to look at small data as well as the big data. We're going to talk a little bit about our data footprint and market research and how those all tie together. And we'll talk a little bit about personalization and shopping behavior. Now, the idea for this session was it sees you when you're sleeping. It was at Christmas, right? When I was thinking about Santa Claus at the time, who sees us when we're sleeping. So does data. We are generating data all the time, because even if we're not generating data, that absence of data is actually generating some data as well, right? Do any of you have a smart watch? I've got my smart watch on. I don't wear it all the time. Anyone here use a smart watch? Oh, okay. Some people sleep with their smart watches on so that they can track even their sleeping habits. I do not, but I use mine when I go hiking or if I have appointments or something. Yeah, so all of that, we're going to look at how all of this starts to generate data. So think about your day-to-day. What kind of data, yes, it does see you when you're sleeping. What kind of data do you generate on a day-by-day basis? What do you think? What kind of data do you think you are leaving as a tracking trail behind you? How do you use the internet on a day-by-day basis? Visiting websites? Well, yeah, what you watch. In what way? What you watch. What devices are you using to watch? Are you thinking about Netflix or even YouTube? any kind of videos. So all of that generates data, but where does it go? Absolutely everything. Every time we go online, we are leaving some kind of a data trail. But where does it go and who cares about it is the thing. So if we talk about big data, but there's also little bits of data and who owns big data. So all of that we look at in different courses. And we actually have some great data courses here at the college too. We're going to talk about it a little bit, but not too much about big data, but a little bit today. I want to talk about it from the perspective of businesses and marketers and what we want to see or how we can use that data that you are generating. So we look at data, there's many different sources of data that we use in business, not just from online. You'll see that we look here, we do have online data. We also have databases, app store data, offline data, and software data. And those are all different sources and generate different types of data. So there's many kinds of data sources. The Internet of Things, have you heard of the Internet of Things before? Does anyone know what the Internet of Things is? Do any of you have a device at home that you talk to that gives you information? No? Okay. The Internet of Things is essentially anything we have that's connected to the internet that is receiving or sending data. So for some people that might be the refrigerator. It might also be your Hey Google or your Amazon Alexa or something like that in your house. It could be, we talk to Siri, right? So, and yes, smart blinds, yeah, smart lights, any of that data, that's all the Internet of Things because it's all connected. All those things are connected through the internet. So all of that is also driving a huge amount, call it a mountain of data. So we're going to take a look at each of these. Online data, of course, is any kind of social media. Does anyone here not have a social media account? Okay. Amazon doorknob, yes, right? And all kinds of smart security devices. Oh, this all disappeared. I don't know what happened. There we go. So we got our online interactions, all of our social media, our email, anytime you've been engaged in an online forum. App store data, every time we download, but then whatever apps we're using on our devices is using and generating, creating data. Software data, that includes web browsers. Everything you do in your browser is generating data. Databases. So if you own any loyalty cards, bank accounts, credit cards, if you're a member of any associations, anything like that, that kind of information on those databases, that's also data that businesses will use. And of course, there's still a lot of offline data that's generated, usually a lot slower and a little bit more purposeful, but we can generate quite a bit of offline data as well. So we look at data through 3 different lenses in business. We call it lagging, current, and leading. And lagging is, think about if somebody's lagging behind. So that's the past data. So that might be when we look at financial records and look at what the performance was last quarter or last year. Sales histories, anything historical, anything past campaign, marketing campaign results. Current is anything that we see right now that might be live. So live website analytics. I'm at a conference today and tomorrow we're using hashtags on social media to share insights into and generate views through hashtags. That's all current data. Leading data is when we're looking at what's coming up. We might be looking at other brands. We might be searching ideas and keywords and looking at innovations that are just coming about. So all of that provides us with a lot of different types of web metrics. So let's focus in right now on the web metrics. Does anyone know what we might track, what businesses are interested in, what kind of data, or we call them metrics, that businesses might want to track from online? Do you have any ideas? Do any of you have a website that you like to go to often? Yeah, what you look up, what websites you visit? So if you go to a specific website, maybe you've come to the Okanagan College website, or maybe you've gone to Amazon or something else of that nature that maybe you're going to visit over and over. And yes, we do target ads, absolutely. So what some of those things that we look at are the basic web metrics. So these are all the different types of data points we will consider from a very basic perspective of when any business has a website. And I'm talking any business, but that would also be anyone who owns a website. If you're a blogger or you have a website, you can get this data as well. So traffic, that's the number of users that visits a website. So when somebody comes to the traffic or to the website, that's how much traffic we've had. We might measure that in hours, days, weeks, months, so we can compare over time. A page, updates on items of interest, the CRA, IRCC. Okay, Gilbert, that's where you go that you're interested in. So a page, of course, when you go to a website, then we'll visit the web pages. So typically, a website will have the landing page or the home page. They might also have or should have an About Us page or a contact page. Maybe there's product pages or blog pages. Any type of page is one unit of content. And we'll measure page views. So I might look at my website data and see that I had 60 visitors in that 2-hour period. And maybe out of the 5 pages on my website, 2 of them got 80% of the views. So I'll be looking at which pages. We'll also look at a session. So that's when I go to that one web page and however much time I spend on it, and then I leave and go do something else and take a break. Maybe the next day I come back. That would be 2 different sessions. So the session is every time you come to that web page. We also are really interested to know who is a unique visitor and who is a returning visitor. So, so we might have a unique visitor is that unique visit, and a unique visit might be from a new or a returning visitor. So all of those things are what we're going to be looking at for the basic web pages. Now, when somebody comes to our website, we want to also look at a number of different characteristics of their particular visit to that site. And we're probably looking at a per session at this rate. So for every session that somebody has with my website, I want to know which entry page. So that's which page did they come in on? Which page was the landing page? Which page did they exit? They got to this page and then left. How long were they there? What was the refer? Did they come through Facebook? Did they come through a Google search? And the click-through rate is something that we measure as well. So we know how many went from this one, this page, from the entry page to the About Us page or to a product page, how many went to the shopping cart. Those are all different conversion metrics that we look at. So I'm just going to whip through these real quick so we can get into some of the fun stuff. Content characteristics, of course, we're also going to look at the page exit ratio I talked about and how many single page visits there are. We also look at a bounce rate. That's a really important metric for us. Does anyone know what that bounce rate might tell us or what our bounces tell us? No? Thanks for your honesty. Awesome. So a bounce is if I go to a website and then I leave, the bounce rate is when we measure how much time they spent. So for an example, if I'm interested in, maybe I'm running an advertising campaign and I'm getting all kinds of visitors to my website, but maybe 25 or 40% of them, or 60% of them even, maybe they get to my website and the bounce rate's really high, I would call it, in minuscule. So maybe they're spending a second or 2 seconds on my website and then they're leaving. That's the bounce rate. How long does it take for them to bounce off my site? And those metrics are really important because especially when we start measuring our advertising or marketing campaigns, because those bounce rates tell us that maybe we haven't targeted the appropriate segment of our market, and we're not attracting the right people to our website because they're not finding what they're looking for or what they're interested in. So those rates are really important. And we also used to look at everything. A lot of what is tracked through your browser. Your browser uses cookies. You're familiar with cookies? For the cookies. Now, every website has to disclose when they're using cookies under our Privacy Act. So that's why whenever you go to different websites, you might see, this site uses cookies, and you have to accept or agree for those cookies to be installed, because they're actually being installed on your computer. So it's resident within your browser. So those cookies would tell us whenever somebody was, might remember your account information or different sessions. What's happening now is what's called universal analytics. And universal analytics allows business and data monitors to track visitors instead of just sessions. So every customer will have a unique identifier, and you can track the full journey with your brand, regardless of what device or browser that's used. We can track individuals across devices and across browsers. So it's pretty amazing opportunities of what we can track. I have a really cool video about how Google Universal Analytics is used. I don't want to go through all of that right now because it's a longer video. If you have time at the end, or if you're interested in it, I can show you. But with the Universal Analytics, it's contingent, of course, on a user being logged in. So when you log into something and you stay logged in, then all of that information can be tracked. So say Joe logs into his account with someone on his home computer. We can track him on his home computer, work laptop, mobile phone, even when he's swiping the loyalty card at a point of sale. And then we can combine all of his online data with everything we already know about him offline, as well as the other data that we've collected. So with Google Analytics and Google and Universal data, we can measure almost anything about the customer when they visit our website. Privacy can be an issue, and there's some significant rules around how that can be used. And with Google Analytics, what you're allowed to do with that data and what you're not allowed to do it, because it can't become personally identifiable. So I can only use that data so long as I'm not personally identifying that one user. So I can only have maybe an account number or an ID number assigned to them, but I can't know your name or where you live. That data I have to keep separate. So this is just a quick screenshot of what that might look like in a Google Analytics website. So here, all of these are users. See that? Here we go. All of these are users. And then we can see their individual ID, which is assigned. Okay, how are we doing? Which Facebook ignores? But I'm not sure what you mean by that. Wilfer Wilton, I may have missed that when you commented. So if I miss something, feel free to jump in and ask me a question or let me know where that referred to. We use an acronym called TRAC, or TAO, stands for Track, Analyze, and Optimize. So first, let me ask you, how many of you used social media today? How cookies are supposed to work? Yes. My favorite cookies are the ones you dip into milk. Still, yes. Okay. So as marketers, we are interested in a number of things, not just making sales, right? Ideally, and sales are not a bad thing. Ideally, If I know who my target segment is, and I know what problem my products or services are solving, I know what value I'm giving to my customers, and my customers are looking, seeking that value. It's a beautiful thing because it's a match, right? I can solve your problems with my products or services. I can fill that gap or fill the void or help you find value in whatever it is you're looking for. In the process of doing that, we want to consider behavioral data. We want to look at, you mentioned earlier about retargeting. This is where retargeting comes into, is by looking at behavioral data. We also want to look at and spend a lot of time thinking about with data about the user experience, where I talked about the bounce rate. Or we will look at websites and consider how somebody moves through the website. If we get a lot of support questions about shipping, perhaps, then that means that our customers aren't finding the information that they need when they need it. So looking at behavior, looking at a user's experience tells us a lot about how effectively we are providing our services and the availability of our products to our customers in the digital world. We also look at outcomes metrics. And of course, that is everything else, right? So what kind of outcomes did we achieve? And all of that tells us all, it gives us so much information. And it's really important to be able to take all that data so we can analyze it and turn it into good decision-making information. So one of the things we talk about, of course, is data analytics. Information is everywhere, and data is everywhere. And businesses use data to make decisions. If you're bad at making decisions in business, you won't be in business for very long. And we're constantly making decisions, right? Things are in a constant state of flux. How much change do you think has happened in business over the past 12 months? Do any of you have any experiences or opinions, maybe from where you work? How many have been impacted through business response to our COVID pandemic? Any of you, or your parents, family members, neighbors? So all businesses have had to go through all kinds of changes over the last year. Every business, there's not very many that have not been impacted. Some have been impacted with an incredible increase of demand, depending what they're doing. Some businesses have shifted their primary focus in what products or services they offer. Some have retooled and repurposed their manufacturing facilities. Many small businesses aren't sure if they're still going to be around. Some have closed because they just couldn't respond, and some are hanging on by a thread. So people are typing prompts. Yeah, the little dot. I don't know about that. If I've got 40 students in my Zoom classroom, I might be kind of busy, but I hear you. Yeah, so there's many, right? And some businesses, if they were able to shift and offer their services online, I know of a lot of smaller businesses that have shifted online, like our yoga studios, exercise, fitness, consulting, of course. So if you're offering a service, something's not a tangible product, it wasn't as much of an issue to, well, I shouldn't say it wasn't much, but it's still a big issue, but it's a little easier to transition that to the online world, for sure. Anyways, I can go off on a tangent in a lot of ways. That happens in my classes sometimes too. We get onto a juicy topic and we end up going all over the place, but it's fun. So when we think about data analytics, you'll see here this quote: monitoring user behavior and monitoring campaign performance over time. What part of that do you think is the most important part? Which words are the most important? Anyone? Can't see if anyone's typing, so I'll just pause for a moment. Okay. The last two words are the most crucial: over time. Have any of you ever looked at a financial statement or seen something like a balance sheet? A balance sheet is one of the three primary financial statements, and it shows us, it's like a little, we call it a little snapshot of a business's position, financial position at any given time. And on its own, we can gather some information from it for sure. We can calculate some ratios. We can see a few things like how much inventory we have at that moment, that day, and what our assets are, what our debt is. But it only tells us that at that snapshot. And data is very much the same thing. We need to be able to compare from one point of time to another point of time to the next point of time, so that we can compare and we can see a trend or a pattern. So we need to be able to compare over a period of time. There's really little value in looking at a single point of data. We want to be able to find trends and changes over a set period. In business, we want to be able to reach the right customer at the right time when they are presenting or displaying the right intent. So that doesn't matter where they are in the customer journey. So our data will help us to be able to see our customers as individuals, personalize campaigns for them, but it also helps us to measure our performance and make good logical decisions. Decisions in business and in life are only as good as the information that we use to make them. So we need to be able to rely on data that is complete, that it's quality, that it's credible, that's coming the same way we make decisions in our general life. Right? We want to be able to gather meaningful insights so that we can develop relevant marketing strategies and make relevant business decisions. Data is dynamic. It's changing constantly. And in the digital world, it's changing second by second. Right? Because the internet's on 24/7. Have any of you ever stayed up and used your device, I don't know, in the middle of the night? Probably not. Hey, none of you have done that. It's good. Don't do that. Never. I do have all my devices set for the quiet mode, so can't bother me at night. It's good. Okay, where are we? So data plus analysis gives us the information for decision making, and that's true in everything we do, like too. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Tell me, you can just do a little thumbs up with your keyboard or say something in the chat. Have you ever seen this? Does anyone know what? Yes, you have. Thank you. Anyone else? Do you know what this is from? This one's actually from Amazon. Many shopping baskets use this. I also teach e-commerce, where we actually develop an e-commerce store as a term project. And there's many platforms and add-ons and apps that allow you to do this within your store. Why would those two different windows be shown? The frequently bought together and the customers who viewed this item also viewed. Why do you think that happens? Those are both components of behavioral science. Okay, so this is behavior. So the frequently bought together is actually really interesting because it's using some principles from behavioral economics, where we're looking at these items. We're giving you an idea. What we're doing is we're integrating the cost here. So the total price shown there is $29.82. But if you added up each of those individual items, it's the same thing. You're not getting a deal on those items by buying them together. But it's a behavioral economics principle called integration. So when we integrate that price, it makes the loss what you're paying as a loss for you. You're giving that away. You're trading it in for something, hopefully for something of good value for yourself. But nonetheless, it's considered a loss of what you're putting out. And so we make it feel smaller to you by integrating it. So it's just a suggestion. You don't have to take that up. But a lot of people go, oh, yeah, you know what? Maybe I will buy all 3 of those, because the idea behind that then is maybe you're getting a deal, but it's really not. So you have to watch that and be sure. The customers who viewed this item also viewed, again, those are also based on behavioral science, and that's giving you some suggestions of what you might also value. Now, the ethical side of all of this is that it's used for good, that we're giving you businesses that do this, giving you a suggestion of something that might also be of value for you, right? So if you got value in that other thing, maybe one of these might even be a better value for you. Maybe you'll change your mind. Maybe you'll see this customers who viewed this also saw that. You go, you know what, actually that one looks like it fits me better. So the merchant here, in this case, Amazon, is helping you to provide you with the most efficient amount of value in exchange for your attention, to give you something that you might be helpful. Now I have a little video here. It's a great campaign. It's actually a few years old, from Neutrogena, which is they provide a sunscreen. And this video is actually a little campaign that they did that integrates all kinds of digital marketing, mobile marketing, and what we call API, which is different type of apps integration. So let me just see. Let me know if you can't hear this. I think I have this shared.
Some care products, the obvious placements are weather-related apps and sites. For a superior product like Neutrogena Beach Defense, the obvious choice just isn't good enough. Plus, how many people actually look at weather apps when they're already at the beach? What if we advertise Neutrogena Beach Defense only in content?
Let me just see if I can turn that up more.
Already popular with our audience. And what if those ads only show up when the sun is shining? Or better yet, earlier in the day? We developed an advanced logic that pulled real-time UV conditions and automatically pushed the ad out if and only if the weather is just right. To enhance the campaign further, we layered location-based data to heavy up in extra sunny places, like parks, beaches, and pools. This allowed the Neutrogena Beach Defense ads to dominate key out-of-home locations on those sunny days. Like a mood ring, the ad would appear or not appear based on the weather and in your favorite beauty or lifestyle content. Because, let's face it, we're more likely to curl up to that than to weather apps while we're sunning. And of course, purchase intent was the main goal of the whole campaign. So we used geofencing to push out a sales-targeted creative when the audience was near a retail location. In that same ad, we included a coupon offer along with directions to the nearest store. This campaign skyrocketed Neutrogena Beach Defense and distinguished it from the gazillion others in a highly competitive category. Within the first few months, the campaign had well exceeded expectations across the board. We increased awareness of our new brand from 0 to 63%, and purchase intent rose 43%. So next time you're checking the news at the beach, the pool, the park, or anywhere sunny, you might hear from us. We'll direct you to the nearest Neutrogena retail store, and your skin will thank us later. You're welcome.
Okay, so this one's one of my favorite little cases that we look at in digital marketing. So if you end up in my digital marketing class, you may see it again, maybe not, depends on when you're there. I'm just gonna go back here so we can get into there and then we'll play it. So in this, what were some of the things that stood out for you? Wilford, do you have any ideas? What stood out for you that you went, oh, that's kind of cool? Anything? I want to put you on the spot. Okay. So the basis of this marketing campaign was Neutrogena was trying to use, the very, very personal, the sheer amount of factors they take in. Absolutely, this is really complex. And they used API technology to integrate a number of different applications in their mobile devices. So somebody, probably a mom, but not necessarily, might be sitting at the beach. So Neutrogena used the weather data to target areas of the country or state, I'm not sure, where the weather was beach weather. But they also targeted where the locations were around parks or beaches that had beach park weather. And they targeted those that were visiting using other apps. So they were they could narrow down who their target segment was because of the other apps that they were using. So in the example we've seen here was when somebody might have been sitting at the park shopping, going through their shopping app. And then they sent out a coupon. So it'd pop and say, hey, did you remember your sunscreen? If not, here's a coupon. And by the way, there's a pharmacy just around the corner from you, so you can go and get it. So personal or creepy, it depends on your perspective. But yeah, very personalized, very specific, very targeted. And the results were amazing. So in this world today, and this is actually about 7 years old, this campaign, but it's still one of the best ones we've seen. I've got lots of others, don't worry. Come to my class, I got lots to show you. It can be, and that's one of the things we talk about with respect to boundaries and ethics. But one thing we do know is the more personalized our internet has gotten, and the more personalized visitors and users of the internet typically want. As consumers, we have shown that we want personalized messages. We're not a mass market anymore. We want our businesses and our marketers and our everyone that we do business with and our merchants, our retailers, we want them to know who we are and we want them to care about ourselves personally. So there's a lot that goes around, a lot of decisions that need to be made, and a lot of science, as well as a lot of good ethical considerations that need to be thought about. So all of those real-time triggers were used to be very specific. Now, when we compare to traditional advertising, like, I don't know, advertisements and commercials on television, you can't target like that, right? Big difference. So there's a lot of magic in it and a lot of opportunity for sure, and a lot of value for consumers, right? Okay, all of that comes from big data. Of course, I was going to go into, but we're getting close to time here, so I don't want to. I'm going to talk about big data. Big data is all of that data that's being collected by the giants, by the Facebook, by the Google, by the Microsoft, and there's a lot of considerations with that data because, of course, in big data, there's no, everyone's anonymous, right? There's no, the personalization is the opposite of that. Because in big data, we can look for patterns, we can look for trends, and we can make decisions. But if that data, there's a lot of evolving policies around who owns that data and who can use that data. Myself personally, I use a browser that doesn't share my data. There's two, there's DuckDuckGo and there's Quant. I'm going to put that here in the, if you go to Quant search, I use, whenever I search, occasionally I'll go to a Google search, but most of the time I use Quant so that my data is not tracked. I've got a few other tricks like that I use. And for some people, it's important. So, you know, I've got people, friends, family that aren't even online. I have never been on the internet, which to me kind of boggles my mind these days. But so every once in a while, I think, oh man, maybe I should go off the grid. I think it's too late for me. I've been online since we could be online in the early 90s. I think it's too late, but some people are still there. Okay, the internet is built for research. One of the other big uses of the internet and how we use data is research. So we've talked so far all about data that's generated by our online activities, but we can also, as businesses, as marketers, consumers also use the internet for research as well as businesses. So have you ever used the internet to make a purchase decision, maybe while you're in a physical store, when we could be in a physical store? At all? No? Okay. A lot of people will, especially bigger ticket items, or maybe if you can't make up your mind, probably not the same for shampoo, but if you were looking to buy a new toilet for your house, maybe, right? You're in Rona. You might, I don't know, this one or this one, which one's got the best consumer reviews? Which one? Oh, if I buy this one, what's the warranty? What if I buy this one? What other considerations do I need to do? And yeah, a lot of people do research at home and then go to a store to buy. We look at all of that as well in digital marketing because there are some implications to that, right? There's implications to where we can't attribute. It's called the last point attribution, because we can't always attribute where a consumer made the decision to purchase, right? It's because if somebody's doing all this research and then we see them, those data points drop off, doesn't mean that they haven't bought from us. It just might be that didn't buy online. Okay, so there's a lot that's pretty important information there too. So customers can do a lot of research online, and businesses can also do a lot of research on customers online. So everything that you're doing in how consumers might use the internet, consumers might do some price shopping and price comparisons. You might research exploring a specific topic or looking for some specific products or services. You might, employers will investigate job candidates. Companies can study their customers. We call that social watching too, where we'll be watching social media sites. We'll be listening, social listening for our brand name being used online, and find out where it's being used, how it's being used, so we can gather insights from our customers. So lots of other information, or lots of other ways that the internet can be used, both by consumers and businesses around research. We might have focus groups. We also provide some customer, actually we're going to take a look at it in just a second here in the next slide. So by doing social listening, by doing active listening, by passive use of data, we can see and how our brands are being mentioned and what's happening. And that can give us a lot of insight into our customers' behaviors as well. So social media, of course, is a big part of digital marketing and online. Do you have, how many social media accounts do you have? We'll say, do you have one? Probably everybody's got one, but how many social media accounts do you have? Anyone? Do you have more than 3? TikTok. So any social media account, you have Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, WhatsApp, Marco Polo, any kind of social media. Actually, Marco Polo as well could be a social networking site. So any kind of, okay, lots of Gmail accounts. So yeah, it's all one platform if you're using any of the Google platforms. So social media is used by businesses quite a bit because we can solve a lot of business challenges, because businesses are always coming up with different challenges that we need to address. And so we can use social media to solve our business challenges in addition to what we're using in data. So There's 7 different ways here. We've got SEO, search engine optimization. When we use social media, when a business has social media accounts, that's really good for organic search engine optimization. It can help to increase where our business might land on the search engine results pages when people search for us, because they're backlinks, as well as relatable content that is really important to help for the search engine optimization. We can also do communication and outreach. Of course, we can talk to our customers. Something's come up. Hey, just want to let our customers know that next week we're switching to a new platform, or we're going to be down for 4 hours, or or we got a sale coming up for Mother's Day. So keep watching for that. We'll let you know soon. Advertising and awareness. Of course, we can make sure that we can increase our brand awareness, and we can also do some advertising online. Sales and lead generation. We can put an offer out there, whether it's to buy something, or also to have somebody sign up for something, register for something. That's all sales and lead generation. Insights and research. Again, that's social listening, where we can just monitor what's happening. Maybe there's groups. I'm a small producer of materials. I have a side business, a little entrepreneurship shop, and I have products that I manufacture, and I belong to about 5 or 6 different Facebook groups to stay within my community. We talk about suppliers. So if any of our suppliers are members of that group, they'll see us talking. They'll see what our issues are, what our challenges are, and what our needs are. So that's a really good way to get insight into your customers. You can also do research that way too. Community management. Of course, we might have community management is when we're actually managing our community, right? So our community can be made up of all kinds of people within the circle that might be associated with our brand. Support and customer service, of course. I don't know if you've ever had an opportunity to do that. I've done this. If I haven't been able to get access or my questions answered, I just go and find a brand's Facebook or Instagram page or Twitter and just say, hey, this is happening, and tag them. And usually it's really quick to get results for some of the larger brands too, right? There's a lot of brands will be monitoring their social media sites 24/7, right? Especially with their brand that has a business that's accessible 24/7. And last but not least is reputation management. And I kind of chose this to end this little lecture on, because reputation management is something that we all need to be concerned with nowadays, and not just brands. But reputation management is really important for brands, and social media is not only where incidents can take off and be lit on fire, but it's also where we can put out the fire. So, and there's lots of things we talk about in reputation management when we take a look at that in marketing. There's essentially, even with our own digital footprints, everything that's being said about us or everything we're doing is either negative, neutral, or positive. It's one of the 3. For a brand, which one of those do you think is where it's like, yeah, everything's good, we don't need to do anything? Where does a business not need to be worried? Negative, neutral, or positive? Neutral. So actually, that's a good guess. And positive, but every single one of those, if we're really on top of our brand and wanting to increase awareness and be out there and building our awareness and being in our consumers' minds when they might want to make a decision, we need to attend to all 3 of those levels. The most important, critical one, of course, is when something's being said that's negative. Because if something's being negative, and like I said, we've got a whole list of how we deal with things if it's negative, but you need to deal with it right away, immediate. And you want to try to take it offline, and you need to, if things that's being said are true, you need to deal with it. And if it's not true, you need to show evidence and correct what's being said that's incorrect. If things are being positive, everything that's being said is positive, right on. This is where you want to jump on this though and take advantage of the momentum. And what can you do to grow that even more and to take advantage of it? And if everything that's being said about your brand, your business is neutral and there's nothing going on, boring, right? You need to say, okay, how can we get something good happening? How can we make a wave? How can we make an impact? So all of these different things that I show for an example here to tie this into our own personal digital footprints. This was from about, I think, 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. And this gentleman was a realtor at Century 21, and he had said something. He was probably having a bad day. We all do it. Don't you know, delete. You can delete what you just said or edit it. But he didn't. He put something on social media, I think on Facebook, and it took off and it got shared and shared and shared. And because right under his profile, it shows that he works, you can see about somebody and where you work on Facebook. And he is a Century 21 realtor, so he got fired by Century 21 because they didn't want his actions to negatively affect their brand, and they had the right to do that. So there's lots of intricacies when we think about our data online, and a lot of intricacies around our rights to that data, privacy of that data, how that data might be accessed, how it might be used. Lots and lots to learn. I could talk about this for hours, and I do over the course of every semester. So how does it make you feel knowing that everything you do online is stored somewhere? It can be searched by someone, it can be shared, and it can even be broadcast. How do you feel about that? Okay, do you have any questions? You know, that's actually a brilliant statement. The fact that I've gotten used to it disturbs me when I think about it. That is one of the concerns and issues and truth that is has a lot of attention being paid to it right now by scientists and researchers and businesses and leaders within business, because when you grow up in this world where all of this information is shared, it's like, no big deal. But it is a big deal. And everyone needs to really take some consideration about what's being shared and how it's being shared, and who has access to that data. Because there's a lot of vulnerability, and there's a lot at stake for sure. Okay. Lots of things you can do to protect your data though. And for all your social media, go into your settings, right? Turn everything off. Facebook, a lot of people don't realize you can go in and change your settings so you can remove all of the words or ideas or topics that over time Facebook has associated with you. So that's why you're seeing those ads that you see. About every 6 months, I go in there and I delete everything. It takes me a while because Facebook's pretty thorough, but I'll go in and I'll delete all the topics, all the associations, and then they have to start all over again. They don't know if I'm a cat lover or a dog lover. They don't know. It's good. Okay, that's all I have. I encourage you. I was going to do some activities, but there was just so much stuff to do, and it's kind of hard in this situation in the class. I would have our students go into breakout rooms probably 2 or 3 times during that lecture to do little activities, to do some research, to come up with some information. So I would encourage you who's here to take a look at all your social media accounts and think about the next time you're shopping. You know, there's a lot of information. Think about every click you take, what kind of data trail you're leaving. Yeah, global pandemic. Thank you for your attention, Wilbur. I appreciate it.